we mentioned this yesterday. So, they have a lottery, for the Giants and the Patriots.
Bada Bling?
Oh, my God. Does the rest of America?
I don't think so. I think it's just a New York, New Jersey thing.
We don't have a boss, so we can make fun of this, right? Tom's not going to run in and say, "Oh, they're sponsors."
The lottery is a sponsor of ours.
We'll get into that a little later.
Yeah, we'll get to that later.
That commercial, that Bada Bing, is driving me nuts,
Bada
too.
Bling.
Bada Bling, right. Because
Bada Bling.
You got the mafia getting together with the Bloods?
With the coloreds. For this Bada Bling, we figured we get together with the coloreds. That's all I could think of when I hear the commercial. Bada Bling, Bada Bling. Oh, it's diabetes. We are just distracted. I turn around on the TV, and there's Wilford Brimley.
I think people appreciate that about this show. We got TVs on all over the place. We want to be in touch with everything, and Wilford Brimley just popped on the tube, and Ant does a fine impression of him.
Talking about liberty. Talking about getting your diabetes medical supplies from Liberty.
Right.
Shut up, you walrus.
Diabetes, 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 diabetes testing supplies.
I got something for you.
Yeah.
It don't mean a thing if it ain't Bada Bling. Bada, 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 Bada Bling.
Bada meets Bling. It's Bada Bling, the new instant game.
Bada meets Bling? I don't think so.
That's impossible.
Hey, yeah.
It's the gangsters getting together with the gangstas.
A bunch of,
How about this? Bling does certain assassinations for Bada.
A bunch of us guineas decided to get together with the and we put out this lottery ticket called Bada Bling. We rarely like to work with the but what the hell, huh? We'll use them if we can. But keep it in the dark areas. Those people are people are animals anyway. It's from The Godfather. Shut up. Bada Bling. Where the Italians meet the...
Where?
All I can think of.
Where? On Venus? Is this lottery taking place on Venus?
Exactly.
I like that you bleep it, but you still have to mouth the word.
Oh, I do. Believe me, I say it.
It's in his blood.
It still comes out. You don't have to say it because you're beeping it, but
No, you kind of got to say it.
Yeah, you do.
It's like Otto has to have George with him to make it the voice he said yesterday. I got to kind of mouth the entire word out, even though I'm bleeping it. Those...
Oh. But that commercial's on
You're
TV.
right, I do. I never noticed that.
I'm sure. Can we find that commercial and put it up on onaradio.com so the rest of America could enjoy it?
They got a bunch of soprano-looking guys.
Oh yeah, I'm waiting for HBO or David Chase or somebody to sue any day now. And then you got the other side looking a lot like Flavor Flav.
Yeah.
That guy looks like Flavor Flav.
Yeah. And they're dancing around with a bunch of like mobster-looking guys.
Well, they're parodying blacks and Italians, so how about having one for Jewish people?
Yeah.
The lottery, we like free money.
It really is this complete stereotyped view of Italians and African Americans.
Yeah. That's all right.
Oh, it's fine. It's funny. I was laughing at even the thought of it because it's so impossible.
I'm sure this company runs that spot, but
they should just have not only just the Jews, like you said, but the Jews and Arabs just dancing together and having fun.
It would be the same thing, right?
Of course it would.
Or how about a stereotype of Asians doing something?
That's what I was getting at.
Yeah, why don't that's against the rules, but Bada Bling
is okay.
With the Italians and the blacks is terrific.
They could have Bada bound feet.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm laughing at that. Shut up.
Hey,
as long as I laugh. If I'm having fun, I'm having fun. That's all I care about.
Bada Sam. How about Bada Sam? Linger longer.
Oh, the Opie version. Thank you.
Wow.
And then that leads to something that has hit the New York papers. We'll explain for the rest of the country, but this is big. This is big in New York. They're promoting a new lottery ticket by doing this.
It don't mean a thing if it ain't Bada Bling. Bada, 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 Bada Bling.
Bada meets Bling. It's Bada Bling, the new instant game from the New York Lottery.
Bada Bling.
No, we brought this to everyone's attention, I think, last week, and man, were we shut down quickly.
Yes, we were.
Quickly. I'm like, but we're on top of this stuff, and of course now the story's in the paper, because we had to point how ridiculous this commercial was. It's selling a new lottery ticket, Bada Bling, and it's getting the rap dudes together with the Goombas.
With the mobsters, the Soprano cast lookalikes.
Right.
And, they're getting together for Bada Bling.
Bada Bling.
The Bada part is the Italian guys.
And the Bling?
And the Bling part of the brothers doing a little hip-hop.
Are the uptown hip-hop dudes.
And they bring them together like would never, ever happen in real life, ever.
That was one of the points we were trying to make last week.
Yeah.
They would never work together, but for the lottery, of course they would.
Yeah.
And we had one of the actors, he was going to call in. He was playing one of the Bling guys.
Yep.
And I guess he's a fan of the show, and he goes, "Oh, dudes, I listen to you guys all the time. I want to talk about this." And I don't know, maybe we could get him on a little later this morning, but it hit the paper today that the campaign is over.
Yeah, the campaign's over. Apparently, one of these Italian-American groups was a little upset about the stereotype, again, the gangster thing. Why does it always have to be the mob when Italians are represented? Blah, 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 blah. Why? Because the mob is made up of Italians. It doesn't mean every Italian is in the mob, although, but it does mean that the mob is made up of Italians. So why can't that be portrayed? Now, that doesn't mean it can't be portrayed so awfully and badly and just that you're embarrassed to watch it. The commercial was horrid. Bada Bling. And then he really got upset because at one point, I guess in the commercial, one of the big fat Italian guys goes, "It is 3 ways to win." Tree. It's classic.
Yeah. It's just like real life, though. The blacks run the numbers for the mob. I mean, that's exactly what that's like with the lottery.
3 ways to win.
So who's outraged?
Some guy. Stella, maybe a girl. Stella Grillo, a representative of Sons of Italy in America's New York chapter, made the complaint. I know a lot of people are saying you're overly sensitive, she added, but Americans have become more sensitive to most racial groups, and it should apply to Italian Americans.
All right, first of all, Americans have not become more sensitive to most racial groups.
No, racial groups.
A very small group of Americans have gotten a bit sensitive. In general, no one gives a crap. In general, we're all stereotyping our asses off at work, at the bars, wherever you may be.
Making jokes.
It's not America. America wasn't pissed off about what Imus said. It was a small group of people that were pissed off that don't represent the masses, by the way.
No.
Whatsoever.
Yeah, Tree Chances. she was upset about that. And, the game is still going to go on.
But they're not going to do the Bada Bling commercial anymore.
And they issued an apology saying they didn't mean to insult anyone, the lottery.
Let's say hi to this dude. I don't know your name, sir. It's not on the screen.
How does the lottery apologize? Like, what are people going to do, boycott it and not try to win $8 million? I don't understand. Like, no one's going to not play the lottery. A bunch of addicts.
I think the run just ended. I think it's a timing thing. This thing hit the paper today, but the ads were supposed to end today anyway.
Yeah.
So, John, what's up?
Hey, who did the Italians want to be portrayed? Would they want to roll out their grandmother in a black dress? I mean, what
honestly,
what are they going for here?
Honestly, John, I think most Italians don't give a crap. It's always a small percentage of people that want to think for everybody. Most Italians, I'd imagine, are just kind of laughing at it. Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, they don't care.
They don't care. Here, let's talk to Stella Rose. Stella. Hi, Stella.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good. You guys got a lot of press in the paper today, huh?
Well, that was from the New York Post.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Stella, can we tell everybody who you are just in case they're just tuning in?
Okay. I am the New York State President of the Commission for Social Justice, which is the anti-defamation branch of the Order Sons of Italy in America.
And you guys had a problem with the Italian-American portrayal as mobsters in this Bada Bling commercial, correct?
From the lottery.
Yes, we did.
From the New York.
Yes, we did.
Lottery.
A lot of our members were kind of offended because it's only a perpetuity of the Sopranos persona that Italian Americans have been bestowed with since the it goes far back.
Words.
Yeah.
Well, Stella, but let me ask you: do you feel that there's truth in the stereotype? In that the people they're portraying in that, which is certainly not all Italians, but do you think that at least they portray them accurately?
Yes, they did. Well, they portrayed, and admittedly so. They thought the Sopranos series was a popular series, and they thought it was entertaining, and it has been a popular series, but it certainly has helped to portray the stereotyping of Italian Americans.
But does it do that, or does it just portray a certain part of Italian Americans, part of their history that is, it's known?
Let's put it this way.
Yes.
I have had calls from students who are studying in various colleges in New York City from out of town, and the first thing their peers or their fellow students will ask is your family a member of the mafia because they have an Italian last name?
Well, still, understandably so, but do you mind like the Italian theme or the obsession over Italian heritage, say in Columbus Day parades or in any of the other 442 Italian festivals that I guess your website helps promote?
You mean, are we upset because
positive stereotypes, say, like if there's any positive stereotypes or positive things that are attributed to Italians? Does that bother you when it's say the Columbus Day Parade, which is basically all about Italian heritage?
Well, the Columbus Day Parade is all about Italian heritage, and it's all about the fact that an Italian actually accomplished the things that Columbus accomplished, and it had to be acknowledged because our country is named after an Italian. It's all of many of our cities, many of our themes are from Columbus. So it's been acknowledged over the years.
Sure.
And now it seems like there are groups out there that feel that, well, this is not true.
So,
well, why is the positive side of Italian Americans not true, and the not positive side or the stereotype side true?
But still, I don't think anybody's saying that, Americo Vespucci, the country wasn't named after him, or that the Italian positive stereotypes aren't true. What my trouble with like organizations like you guys is you tend to only want one truth portrayed, and that's a positive truth. Like, you don't mind ethnicity being used if it's to paint you in a light that you're comfortable with. But like when you look at The Sopranos, what I meant by the accuracy, not of Bada Bling portraying The Sopranos, but of The Sopranos portraying guys who are in the mob. I mean, that is an Italian organization by their own statement. They have to trace you back to the motherland, back to Sicily, to become quote-unquote made, I guess. So that's them saying that. Why would you have a problem with that stereotype being portrayed but not a positive one?
I'm going to answer you by a personal answer. My grandparents came from Sicily. They are not members of the mob. Nobody I never even grew up knowing that there was a mob until I read about it, or I saw The Godfather. This was not part of our life. So would you believe that less than 1% of Italian Americans are actually involved in organized crime?
Yeah, I would believe that, but that 1% is very, it's intriguing to people. People like seeing it portrayed. It makes some of the most popular movies that are ever made. And I honestly don't think, because I'm Italian, and it doesn't bother me in the least. I think the majority of Italians aren't bothered by it because it hasn't prevented us from doing anything that we want to do, whether it's advance in our jobs, get a career, raise a family. I don't think these movies or stereotypes has really affected Italian Americans in a negative way. I think it's a lot of it is entertainment, movies, television, based on something that did happen. It was part of Italian heritage, and again, not every Italian's heritage, but
not part of Italian heritage.
No,
every ethnic group has their criminal element. This is absolutely true. Yet, if you go into, and I'm not going to mention ethnic groups, there are other forms of criminal activity in other ethnic groups.
Sure.
Yet they always say, like, the Russian mafia. Why isn't it the Russian mob, the Russian criminals?
Because they're scary. They do scary things.
Whatever they do, they do. But what I am trying to say is that every ethnic group has their criminal element, yet it is not glamorized, and it's not. It doesn't
Sure, it's
sell
glamorized.
movies the way
Stella,
the Italian ethnic movies.
I hate to interrupt you, Stella, but it first of all, it is glamorized. When you look at black thugs and gangsters, that lifestyle is glamorized tremendously. And I think the reason the Italian mafia is so glamorized is maybe, I will believe you that there are only 1% of the Italians. Of course, 99% are not criminals or not a member of the organizations. But you know what? They've had a tremendous influence in our country. Not all of it bad. I mean, if it wasn't for them, there probably wouldn't be a Las Vegas as we know it. And from what I understand, as an entertainer, it was a lot more fun to work there when they had it
Yeah.
than it is when these stupid corporations have it. They've had a tremendous influence in the unions. I mean, they've been a really powerful group. I mean, this was not a small fringe group that people just stereotyped and made popular. They were very, very in the forefront of American life for a long time.
So now we should continue to portray and let everybody think that most Italian Americans are mob related.
Do you think
that's crazy?
Do you think most people think that most Italians
Sure do.
I don't think so. I really think people take it for what it is. There is the element of truth because these people did and do exist. A majority of them are Italians. I mean, you look at the names in the paper when there's mob arrests, and they're Italians. And it's glamorized because there was, and especially when you look back at the old days of it, it was this kind of glamorous lifestyle that people have in their head. If you don't look at how gruesome the actual murders were when you separate yourself from the reality of it and watch it in a movie, people are taken by it.
There have been gruesome murders from every ethnic.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't talk about the Irish. We don't talk about a lot of other ethnic
I think we do.
They're not as interesting. I hate to tell you, Stella, but they're not as powerful. And the Irish, whether the Irish mob or the Jewish mobs that, or gangsters that were when the Jews first came here, they just weren't as powerful in, like, I guess, the 20th century as the Italian mafia was. I don't know why that was, but I mean, criminally, they did a lot. They were in the forefront of our lives for a long time, and I'm not even knocking them. I mean, they did a lot of things that I like, as well as a lot of bad things.
Well, as I said, now we've got Italian Americans in every walk of life. Do they still have to be stigmatized by this persona?
I don't even disagree with you, but why is it that you only want certain stereotypes to be talked about? That's what, like, you don't mind the positives. If you were against all stereotypes...
I'm going to tell you something. My husband was a professor in the 70s when Italian American professors could not get tenure in any city university. So there was a lot of discrimination, and it had nothing to do with the fact that they worked hard, they did what they had to do. There was a lot of discrimination out there. And true, it's not there now, but we still continue to be painted by this same brush.
I don't know.
All Italian Americans are painted by the brush.
I'll tell you something personally. Again, I'm Italian, and I like to think, especially in this age of political correctness, where if you say anything about black people, you have Reverend Al Sharpton, you have this one and that one. Asian groups have their spokespeople that make it impossible to bring up any humor that's race-based as far as Asians or blacks go. I like to think that as an Italian that we're beyond that we can take a joke, we can take a stereotype, and it doesn't have to, we don't need a representative to come and speak for all of us. I find that insulting. I find it insulting when an Asian representative comes up and wants to represent all Asians by saying this stereotype or this joke or whatever upsets them, and I'm going to represent everybody by saying it upsets the entire group. I like to think Italians are beyond that. We're probably some of the best joke tellers there are. I'll tell you that much. I heard a lot growing up, and I'd like to think we're beyond that.
Why should we be?
Why should we be? I think if it's a tit-for-tat thing where it's like, well, just because blacks, Asians, and I use black and Asian a lot because those are really at the forefront right now.
Polish jokes anymore, and you shouldn't.
Well, Polish jokes. The Poles never really came out and said stop the joking. It just kind of got old and passé.
Well, the Polish are so stupid they didn't even realize that they were being made fun of. So
I don't think it's that.
Oh no, that's absolutely it. Because I got some Polish heritage in my family, and we were just dumb. We just didn't realize that people were making jokes.
But
I think everyone's just got to lighten up. Really, I think it shows weakness when a group like yours has to get in the paper and speak for all Italians, like they can't protect themselves.
They called me.
Yeah, they'll do that.
Yeah, but you got a whole organization based on it. I think most Italians.
She didn't call the papers. Call the papers.
Right. I think it shows weakness in a group when you have to protect everybody. I think it was.
We're a national organization, so obviously people all over the country have this.
But you're an ethnicity, like this is what I'm saying. You're an ethnicity-based organization.
No,
so,
we are actually a fraternal organization.
You know what I'm saying.
And we do have an anti-defamation arm, very similar to B'nai B'rith and other anti-defamation arms of other organizations. Defamation,
though, I don't even disagree with that, Stella, but defamation is coming out and saying all Italians are criminals, and I would certainly agree that you should be very PO'd at that. But portraying a stereotype that, is negative, but is true. It's a true stereotype. No one says that all Italians are in that, in the mafia. Of course not. But the segment that it is like they're portrayed.
Yeah. So why can't that be portrayed and just left as entertainment or even history? Like, I watched plenty of stuff on the History Channel about La Cosa Nostra, and it's accurate.
Like if they were saying that this might sound like a silly example, but if they were portraying like a bunch of Italians as brain surgeons or all these things, and you say, well, that's kind of a disproportionate portrayal of Italians as brain surgeons, you wouldn't, on principle, be as upset.
They wouldn't portray Italians as
That's why I said
but
if.
They may select one brain surgeon who accomplished something, and it wasn't because he was an Italian, it was because of his own accomplishment.
Hey, unless the brain's made out of concrete, huh, Stella?
So why take that brain surgeon who happens to be Italian and paint him with the mafia bruff and say, well, okay, maybe his grandparents were.
No, what I'm saying is this. I'm saying is you wouldn't mind a positive stereotyping even if it was slightly inaccurate. I guess that's human nature. But that's why organizations like yours kind of bother me, because I feel like you don't mind something inaccurately portrayed if it's kind of in your favor.
I have not seen any of the positive image portion of our organization being portrayed to the point where it wasn't correct. Okay? And you just answered your own question. Why does the History Channel do a series on Cosa Nostra? Did they do any series on any other criminal element of any other ethnic group?
Actually, yes. I've seen plenty of shows. It's a show called Gangland, and they portray the Bloods, the Crips, the Latin Kings, that South American gang. That's
the Colombian drug lord gangs.
My goodness, yeah, Colombian drug lords, and the mafia, which is part of that criminal element, but. Again, it's not portraying all Italians as mafiosa. It's portraying the mafiosa as Italians, because that is what happened. It's what they are. So, that's just kind of what it is. And it's hard to accept that all Italians are upset by this, that they need representation.
That many novelists who write excellent books, if they have a criminal or some kind of shady character in the book, his name is Vinny, Joe, with some other Italian-sounding last name.
Because the books are written by Jews, Stella. We all know they're the problem.
No, that's not true.
Of course it's not true, you silly goose. It's called sarcasm. We finally learned about that.
We got to wrap this up, but we appreciate you coming on.
Okay.
Absolutely,
you've been on the
Stella.
Opie and Anthony Show. Thank you very much for coming on the Opie and Anthony Show.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Stella.
Stella, que bella cosa.
There she goes, Stella, everyone.
There she goes.
It's a real stick in the mud, that Stella.
Yeah. And I'll never understand that.
She sounds like a hoot, by the way.
Italy.
Italy.
Old school.
I know, bottle. Could you get a bottle? Get another bottle out of the fridge. I never understand that. I just don't get the whole, we need a whole organization to represent us, because Who's upset? First of all, as an Italian and knowing a lot of Italian people, we kind of bask in that whole mafia thing. It's sort of a it's a pride thing having that background because it did become so powerful that it's kind of like, yeah, that's kind of cool. And the gangsters, come on, that's the coolest crap you ever see on in movies. Mm-hmm. Jesus.
I'll tell you why I dislike her organization less than most of them. Because they're coming after Italians. I don't agree with her, but she's going, they're sick of Italians portraying mobsters. They're sick of it altogether.
Prejudice against Italians in this day and age.
Blood. But if you get Asian groups will criticize certain people for making Asian accents, but they don't mind Margaret Cho doing it.
Right.
Like, they're very selective, which means to me they're completely fraudulent. But at least she's consistently unfunny.
Oh, they are unfunny. And they get on Italians.
Yeah.
Is what they'll do. This group will get on Italians, whereas, you won't see Reverend Al getting on black people. Absolutely. You won't see the Asian groups getting on Asian people. This Italian group is usually going after Italians because they're the ones in the movies, in the shows, writing them.
Mafia.
Sure.
In the mafia.
Let's go to Rika. Rika.
Hi.
Hi, what's up?
Hey, Rika.
I think that the whole thing is ridiculous. I actually, my ex-husband is part Sicilian from Boston, and he used to love living up the whole mafia thing. And I just got finished dating somebody from Stamford, Connecticut. And I got to tell you, the Italian Americans in Stamford love portraying this mistake. He would boast about being part of the Gambino family, and now he's with another family.
That's smart.
All right, well, he's getting a little carried away.
Yeah, that's a little much.
Right.
Wearing leather and Drakkar cologne is one thing, but naming names.
Yeah.
Get in the car, Rika. Get in the car.
Let's go to Queens. Chris, what's up?
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Good.
Hey, that lady before, she wasn't an Italian. She sounded more like a Jew. I'm Italian. I'm Sicilian. And the organized crime basically paved the way for, us to be accepted as more or less regular.
It paved the way for Italians to be able to pave the way. You know how we are with cement and asphalt.
That's how a lot of Italian-American businesses that are legal now started back then.
Sure. And a lot of these groups are so phony because they only paint. They make it look like the mafia again was this fringe group that had a teeny percentage that had no influence. They had a bigger influence than the Russian mafia, than the Asian gangs, the Flying Dragon. The mafia had the biggest influence of any criminal organization.
And thinking that they were just, maybe a few Italians thrown in the mafia.
Yeah.
How come every time there's a movie, it's always all of them are Italian? Well, because that was the mafia.
Exactly. the Jews did kind of help start Vegas. I guess I should.
Yeah, but
it was Bugsy's muscle.
That was also kind of a jittery little relationship. Your father's trucks. They were your father's trucks. Was it? How about I put a pillow over your head, shoot you, Hyman?
She got everyone reacting, man. Let's go to Joe. Joe, what's up?
It's John.
All right, John, what's up?
Hey,
make it quick. A lot of people want in here.
All right, well, she was saying that less than 1% of Italians are in the mafia or whatever she was saying. Well, what percentage of Italians, and I'm Italian, did great things? What percentage were Marconi and Columbus and everything else? So how does that argument hold up?
That is true. I wish I would have thought of that.
That's only 1% are in the mob.
What percent discovered America? It was one guy. It's like 1/1,000,000th of a percent. And he didn't discover it. He came and raped people who were already here. God bless him.
But that goes back to what you said about if it's a positive stereotype, it's all good. Sure. If it's a negative one, it's not good.
Absolutely.
And, it's pretty much the same thing.
Thought of that.
Let's go to Charlie in Jersey. Charlie, what's up?
Charlie.
Hey, fellas, how are you doing?
All right, Charlie.
I used to be a president of 2 different chapters of an Italian-American organization.
Is your phone bugged?
With the Veta Lake.
Should be.
And before I left that organization, The Sopranos was just starting to kick off. I had told everybody back then that I think it's a waste of time to a degree of trying to focus on these negative stereotypes that are being portrayed. Focus more on the positive things, and you get better traction instead of trying to look at the mafia portrayals in movies and so forth. Look for other things. Focus on the people, whether it's science, education, films. I mean, there's plenty of actors in films that have done non-mafia related roles, non-goofball related roles. So, I think that they're off base to a degree. The commercial was really bad, and that's the point that I would make. But to go after it just because it's mob related, I think is off.
It was just the commercial is just very cartoony.
It's
Whatever.
stupid.
I don't think people are going, look, that's how they act. All of them. Every single one. See, I was right. I knew it all along.
God, I wish I would have thought of that.
I know, that's a
Yeah,
great
the
point.
They don't
percent thing
mind
is
the
really
Columbus.
good. Yeah.
Let's be honest. I mean, there were Indians here, and they did kind of run over them and slaughter them. But they don't mind
what were
the
they gonna
positive
do?
Chris Columbus, funny hat.
Right.
Well, that funny hat, the Nina Pinta Santa Maria. Cute names for the boats as they come over here and just ravage. Let's
Have an
ravage.
anthrax blanket, you goose.
Love it.
Let's go to Gotti's neighborhood, Howard Beach. Dennis, what's up?
What's going on?
Hey, yeah?
Hey, what's up, Dennis?
How are you?
Hey.
This lady is an idiot. I'm surprised you guys didn't slam her phone on their ear. Like, she makes no sense. She wants to talk about how everything is, bad against us. The neighborhood is so great because of the influences that were there. When Gotti was around, you can ask anyone who lives there. It's still one of the safest neighborhoods because of the reputation it has. I just had a son a year ago, and, I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. Everyone knows each other, everyone knows the deal, and it's safe. You don't have, savages running around and robbing each other, and, I can't,
Right, we know. Believe me, we get it.
We get it.
I would definitely, if I could live on a block that John Gotti lived on, I would feel very safe walking home at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Back in the 80s.
Till this day, you'll see kids. My nephew's, 14 years old, and he's walking around, till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and it's no big thing.
Yeah, back in the 80s, he would hold parties. There'd be these huge 4th of July parties with fireworks and.
It was beautiful. It was great.
Yeah.
It was great. You used to walk around. You just leave your cars open, no big deal, and it's still like that today. It's like an open door policy, literally. You could walk to any friend's house, and the door's always just open. You never have to worry if who's running in that.
Well, basically, you're saying the Mafia did a lot of good things. When I was growing up, I was a caddy, and I loved caddying for the Wise Guys.
Winning that caddy tournament.
But the club I was a caddy at, it was known that there were a lot of Wise Guys there, and you know what? They treated us way better than any other member for the most part, and they were incredible tippers. They were great to us growing up.
And when you look at when you look at high profile stuff, I'm sorry, but Castellano was shot in front of Spark Steakhouse in Christmas Rush.
Yeah.
I mean, how does that not captivate people in some way to be interested by that?
Right. Yeah. Offended.
Welcome back to the Opie and Anthony Show. I want to say good morning to all the Wise Guys out there.
Hey, yeah.
They know how to take a joke.
Good morning.
I think most Italians know how to take a joke.
Of course.
You got Dirty German from Greensboro. He writes, those damn Hitler documentaries every week aren't doing the Germans any good.
That's true. Do you think every German is a Nazi? Yes, but they're not, apparently.
Then you got the rednecks. They do the NASCAR. It's everywhere.
Yep. Everyone's got their stereotype. Deal with it.
All right.
Could be worse. Believe me. You could have a worse stereotype than the Mafia. I mean, Italians, think of some other stereotypes that are out there. Being in the Mafia isn't a bad stereotype.
Absolutely. There's other groups that have stereotypes about the size of their genitals being minuscule.
Right. Bad driving habits.
Yeah.
Things like that. Good at math.
Italians, I don't know, they come across being very tough. What's wrong with that?
Tough guy.
They can take care of themselves. They don't need some dumb little group. Oh, but it's a national organization. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
She corrected us on that one.
She sure told you.
All right. Let's say hi to Jason in New York. We're going to move on to other things, but Jason, he's been waiting a while. What's up, buddy?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on the stereotype issue.
Yeah.
I have two things to say. First of all, I think we need to stop focusing so much on stereotypes because we have a generation that's raising
Super
up
kids.
that's so sensitive to everything, and they don't have any thick skin. The other thing is, I'm 100% Italian. I'm not offended at all by the way they put on the promotion, and actually, I think they were doing a good thing. They were bringing two groups together, Italian Americans and blacks, who have always collided, always had conflict, and they're bringing them together on a fun level. I really think they were doing a good thing.
Yeah, see, it was like, hey, look who we're hanging out with.
That was the point we were trying to make last week.
Do you think when those actors left the set that they said a few things.
Oh, of course, both sides, by the way.
Both sides, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
of course.
It's this commercial because Boston doesn't get it. Buffalo, well, I think it's in Buffalo because I think it's statewide.
New York State
Lottery. It's getting the rap guys together with the soprano Italian mobster guys.
Yeah, they weren't even the Sopranos guys. They were like lookalikes.
Well, that's what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were promoting this new lottery ticket called Bada Bling. You got the Bada and you got the Bling. Bada Bling. We thought it was hilarious. Let's say hi to Steve in Syracuse. Steve.
Hey guys, what's up?
Hey.
Hey, I'm sick of the news portraying blacks in a bad stereotype.
Yeah.
Travis thought it was funny.
I did too. That was me.
The news.